Hello and welcome to Movie Reviews 101. Today we are going to look at the 9 wild predictions for Scream 6. Now Scream 6 is right around the corner and people have been speculating about this movie for months. The news that Neve Campbell isn't returning due to a pay dispute has led to people getting upset, and it's led to a few people wanting to know answers. I have decided to add my own theories to the table, which will include a lot of spoilers from the previous movies, but nothing from Scream 6, as the only information I have for this movie is from what I've seen in 2 trailers. This is purely for fun, and I just want to have a bit of enjoyment. I like joining in the speculation game. Some of these are completely crazy, and others could well be a possibility. First up, I'm going to go with the most obvious one, and that is that both Meeks Twins will die. I feel this is going to be the easy and obvious one, because in Scream 2, Randy Meeks gets killed off. Despite being the expert on horror, Mindy has taken over this role to be very similar to her uncle, and she got injured in the first one, just like Randy. Chad is also part like Randy, with the not wanting to do anything with his girlfriend in the first return of Scream 2022. And he also got injured and recovered. With both of them getting hurt and recovering, it feels like it's set up for the Legacy sequel to continue to kill off the poor Meeks family, despite them being the best 2 siblings in the franchise that we've now been given, because they are way more interesting than the Carpenter sisters. So that's the easy, obvious choice, and I feel this could be the one we're all going to just agree with going forward. Number 2 on my list is going to be one of the more controversial, crazy, wild theories of mine, is that Sydney will get killed in the opening sequence. Now, as I've mentioned, this is a bold choice because the stories have come out that she wasn't returning due to a pay dispute, and it brought a lot of attention to the movie. It's up to everyone else to decide whether it is a big story or not. There's lots of discussions about it, and a lot of people arguing about whether she should or shouldn't come back. But what if it is a giant PR stunt to keep this a secret? We know from previous movies that the opening sequence likes to include a shock. And what would be more shocking than seeing the franchise face Sydney killed off by Ghostface, being kept a secret because of this pay dispute? And then we also have one other minor clue, which I've always picked up on. In the last Scream movie, they mention that Sydney's character is in all the Stab movies except the last one, and we know damn well there's going to be at least one more Scream movie, because this is a Legacy sequel idea where we're going to probably see the 3 longest lasting characters killed off in some way, a bit like what Star Wars did, and we'll get into more details on this a bit later. But this would be a very, very bold move and would have plenty of people's eyes turned to the franchise once more. Number 3 is Gail Weathers gets killed off. Now, if we are going to say that Sydney is not going to return and is not the surprise death, the obvious choice is Gail Weathers. And it's a logical pick, let's be honest. The trailers have hinted heavily that she's going to have a lot of interactions with a ghost face of sort. And it feels whoever the killer is going to have a lot to do with research on everyone, and this is the theory behind it all. We've mentioned the Star Wars, then the remakes or the reboot, requels, whatever we're going to call them, which this movie goes on about in Star Wars. We saw Han Solo, Luke and Leia both all killed off in one movie going forward. This would continue that idea that people don't like them as much as they say they do, but would let the new characters get to do a lot of legwork. It has also put a lot of focus on Gail in the trailers, and she's one of the main characters that always had the biggest story arc. So that's pick number 3. Number 4 on my list is another strange one, and that is there will be 3 killers, potentially more. Now, the Scream franchise has always gone very heavily on pointing out that there is always 2 killers. And before you all write in the comments that Scream 3 only has 1 killer, there's a reason for that, and that was because of a real life tragedy when the Columbine shooting happened, when it was 2 killers. So the producers pulled the decision to have 2 killers in Scream 3, despite the movie hinting very heavily that one of the other characters was a killer, especially when they are killed more off screen and barely mentioned in any of the reports of the incident. In Scream 6, it feels like this movie's going to be pure chaos. We've seen in the trailer that Ghostface is actually now killing random people. We've seen this from the grocery store sequence in the trailer. It would probably mark the first time there's been truly random killings. Everybody else that we've always seen killed has had some connection to something that's going on, so this could mean we have more than 2 killers. The killer is going to have a connection to Cotton Weary. That is my pick for number 5. Now, a lot of the internet has gone very, very heavily that they believe Stu is going to return as the killer. Now, for me, I don't think Stu will return without Sidney in the movie. It's as simple as that. So I'm taking that one completely off the table. But it doesn't say he couldn't return in the next movie. For me, I would pick some relation to Cotton Weary. And we have a few motivational factors here. We know he was a bit of a womanizing figure, with the affair with Sidney's mum led to everything that has happened in this whole franchise. He went to jail for murder and everything around it. But he's always been portrayed as a very selfish figure. Yes, he was proven innocent, and we could easily see him having some illegitimate children somewhere that got together to know who he was. And with this movie seemingly pointing a bit more towards Gail Weathers, it feels like Gail profited the most from the whole Cotton and Sidney's mum story, so that would make her a prime target for a Cotton Weary's child to come back and attack Gail and anyone else still involved or connected, especially when you think that Sam is Billy Loomis's daughter. Throws in another bit of action into this. You've got the Meeks Twins. It's all there. It could easily be someone from Cotton Weary's family. Number 6 is that Tara's dad is the killer. Now this one is a bit more out there. It plays into what we have heard in the last Scream 2020 when Sam revealed or learned that she was Billy Loomis's daughter, and that the person she thought was her father and is Tara's father ended up overhearing, and it pushed Sam out. And it sort of hints that Tara's father left. We don't really know what happened to him. It might be a bit of a stretch, but if he comes back and wants revenge on Sam, Gail, everyone else for ruining his life, because his whole life went, if he did leave, which I think it hints very heavily for, his whole life crashed in front of him when he thought he had the perfect family. So that one would be a very interesting one. It would also make the killer around the same age as Sidney, which would then continue why it's such a long version of the character. Number 7 is the final one of my wild guesses of someone is the killer, and that is Kirby is going to be the killer. Kirby did in fact survive Scream 4, and it's a little detail that gets mentioned in Scream 2022. In the trailer we see that somebody has created like a ghost face shrine museum. I'm pretty sure it doesn't say who has, and it could well be Kirby that did this. Like, we've seen that the Jigsaw movies did this. We had like an obsessive character behind it. and seeing and living through it kind of could play into everything Kirby was like. She liked the horror movies. It could translate into her adult life. Well, it's weird to see because she wasn't in the last movie. Then this could also explain why she wasn't in the last movie. She could have built something with everything that she's been doing and been part of the killing team, ready to see what's going to happen next. Number 8 is the largest body count in the entire franchise combined. Now, this one is, again, a very bold one, but the trailers have made this movie look very chaotic. And if we look at some of the basic statistics of the kills, if we exclude Ghostface's deaths and kills killed by Ghostface who was unmasked at the time, we do have a surprisingly low amount. The last movie only had 6, and one of them might not have even been in a Ghostface mask, it being Vince, Liv, Judy, Wes, Dewey, and a random nurse. You could also take Liv off because they were unmasked and it was the reveal when she got killed off. So that's an easy start, which was surprisingly low for the reboot. In the original Scream there's only 5, Scream 2 there's 8, Scream 3 there's 9, Scream 4 there's 9. So you could easily see this happening because it already hints that a lot of random strangers are going to get killed off. This could well be the biggest body count ever in a slasher movie. It could be going extra bold, and I'm not going to take Jason X as an argument when Jason technically blew up a space station. We're talking when they're hands-on approach to what they're doing. So, and the New York setting is going to help create that. Number 9, the final one, is Scream 6 is a reboot of the Stab franchise. Now, I've got a few wild picks on here, but this one is the one so far outside the box it could work for what the last movie did. And the last movie was having a lot of digs at how fans of movies don't like certain things in horror anymore, especially when it comes to reboots, requels, sequels, prequels, etc. Now imagine that this turned out to be some wild documentary or found footage element to try and redo another Stab movie, which is the Scream movies inside the Scream universe. It is very bold, very stupid, but it would absolutely destroy the fans of this movie franchise and just have people arguing and complaining, and it feels like that's what they quite happily would go and do. But if it's done correctly, it could work. I do think this is a wildly stupid pick, but I wanted something really crazy to add on to the end. So that one is my 9th and final choice, just for the controversy and chaos it could cause. So that is my selection of picks for wild predictions in the Scream 6 movie. Do you have any more wild predictions for Scream 6? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.